Hi and welcome to Blender Clinic. Today we're going to be looking at UVing a robot. This is primarily intended for the students on the Blue Zoo and Next Gen Bootcamp course, but I figured it might be of interest to others as well. So, I figured I would pop it all up online. Let me just sort out my monitoring situation over here. Very ill, like nothing serious, just a massive cold, so I might not make a lot of sense, and I might be hard to understand because I have a ridiculous accent and my nose is blocked. So, with that said, let's dive in. So, UVing, how do I go about it? I'm not the best at this, but, it's something I have to do an awful lot of. So, first things first, I will mute my phone, go into the UV editing layout, and just grab one of the pieces of geometry. I've hidden all the other stuff, rigs and stuff. I don't want to accidentally be selecting all the other things. And I'm just going to hit UV and see where it gets us. So that's where it gets us. Now, UVing is a tricky one. You can work between two different kinds of, this button massively affects how the UV editing system works. And you'll need to toggle back and forth to it. In fact, what we should do is assign a shortcut to it. What would be a good shortcut for it? Assign shortcut. Oh, I've done the backwards bracket there. Let's see if, yeah, there we go. Now I can toggle that. Because we're always, I'm always toggling it constantly, and I've never thought to. I'm rambling because I've got a cold. Shut up and leave me alone. So, where would this first part? Basically, I've toggled this so that it's going to. It'll show me, like, if I select this, I want to look at this island of UVs. I can hit L to select the island, but in the previous view, so I have to select, right. To clarify, I've got this object, I go into edit mode, I select a section of it, it will show me what is, it'll show me the UVs for that. So if I hit A to select all, it'll show me all the UVs. Now, if I don't know what part of this, like the UVs, I don't know what part of the geometry they belong to, I can island select it using L, and then toggle that switch. Toggle that switch, and island select it, and it will select it in the other way. So it's kind of like a reversal of, island selecting the geometry in your viewport. Did that make sense? I'm not sure it made sense, but it makes sense to me. Anyway, I found myself doing that an awful lot. So I need to find the least visible seam here. I don't think we're going to have any good contenders for the least visible seam. So I'm just going to... I guess I'll just do the traditional back seam there. Sometimes the underarm, it tends to be better. So let's do that. So I'm going to select this seam, hoping that it's the least visible. I'll turn on X-ray view. Turn off mirroring because that's confusing, and I can use box select to get rid of this top part. The loop is the geo's so clean that the loop doesn't end at this point, which is normally not an issue for me, but there we go. I'm gonna select that, U, mark seams. Oh, I can't even see it. There we go, and then we can unwrap it again, and you can see something. It's drastically changed what we were working with, which is great. What we also might want to do is, I don't know, I'm going to hide these fingers. There we go, we'll get a slightly better. Just playing with it now. Get a slightly better unwrap that way. What else could we do? We could cylinder project this and see if that works. I've never really used the cylinder projection, as you can probably tell. So I'm not quite sure how this works. Interesting. Okay. That's not going to do it for me. There are various other modes for this, though, which are quite useful. If I could remember how to use them whilst having a head full of cold, I might be able to tell you about it. Follow active quads. So we can select, like that, go follow active quads. It's very clean, but I don't know why it's done it that way. Maybe we change it from length average to length to even. I'd have to look that up, why that is the way it is. But, you know, it's very clean, which is good, but it's not going to help us. So, I mean, this is the situation I normally find myself in. What I can do is I can pin, I can just, you know, loop select with Alt, right click, and then I can come up here, and I could go S, Y, 0 to straighten that axis out, that loop out. Additionally, if you're using stuff like text tools, you've got buttons for this, which are quite nice. Boop. Boop. And if I pin those, again, hitting P, then I can select it all and then go U, unwrap, and it will maintain those those pinned edges, which is quite nice. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to start straightening these central things. Let's do it this way, because I know I need that geometry to be nice and clean. And again, we'll pin those. Actually, maybe yeah, no, I do want to. I wish there was a way to pin them on the Y and not on the, or pin them on the U and not on the V. That would be good, but never mind. Maybe there is. Maybe I'm just an idiot and I don't know. Got some cleanup here to do. I mean, that'll do it well enough, I guess. Yeah, that's a clean enough result for what I'm hoping for, at least. There might be a little bit of an issue with these. What we could do is actually test this by going on here and saying display stretch, so we can see the most extreme sort of points of it. And to be honest, I'm okay with what I'm seeing there. It doesn't worry me too much. A good thing to do with this stuff is to have a shading panel open. Oh, my brain's not working. Shading editor. 1 second. Apologies, that's quite gross. And we could add an image, create a new image, and a color grid. Okay, and we'll select that grid and go to our texture material, so we can see how how a texture lays out over our UVs. And to be fair, I think that looks okay. Although I have somehow lost my UVs somehow. Do 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 do. I wonder what's happened there. So there's a bit of distortion here, but seeing as I can't bring up the the UVs to have a look at them, that's probably a bit of a bigger issue. Wow, that is... There we go. Super frustrating. I turned the entire visualization off there, which was what was causing that. But yeah, we've got some distortion here we might want to fix. To be honest, this is occluded by geometry, so I don't see it being an issue. But again, we can just push it that way. And again, you know, we could massage that around and just try to get ourselves a cleaner result. In fact, we could just absolutely grid up this whole thing. It's a time-consuming process. Sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it's not. As I said, I was quite happy with how it was. But, you know, seeing as we're demonstrating UVing techniques, it might be worth someone's time. Now, there is something that you can normally try with this, which may or may not work, and it's called rectify. Yeah, no, it almost never works for me. There's also, do I have magic UV? There's another one called UV squares, and there's various tools. I do find that they have varying degrees of efficacy, where they don't always do what they're supposed to do every time. So I often find myself UVing stuff manually in order to get the results I want. Obviously, you know, your efforts, it all comes down to what you want to achieve and how precious you want to be about stuff. You might not care about the UVs, and that's probably because if you don't care about the UVs, it's likely that you either don't have a very complicated paint job to do, or you're not the one doing it. Do 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 do. Just gonna move that over there, so I can start straightening these out this way. I'm sure there are many, many, many ways to do this better, and I would, I would heartily recommend that you spend some time looking over tutorials on UVing. But UVing is one of those things I've never quite had the time to really upskill on it, and it always got pushed back, and therefore I've got this brute force sort of method of UVing, which is highly, it really does get controlled results. I'm going to pin those now. I'm done with them, but it is tiresome and slow. So yeah, here we go. There's a finger. I'll hide that. Again, I'm trying to choose points on the mesh that would, they're logical points for a seam. So this one is the back edge, the back lower inside edge of the finger. It's the least visible, it's the least commonly visible edge, at least in my mind. That's how I think of it. And then these edges, because this is basically a subdivided cube, that's probably how it started its life. So you've got, the cube edges there that I can see in the topology are a logical place to break it and make a seam. I could grab them all like that, or I can use now this is an add-on called Packmaster, and I love it because it packs UVs for me. Now, you don't need this, you can manually do it. It's not a particularly big task most of the time, but if you've got automated UVs done or whatever, like lots of little parts, it can very, very effectively squish it all in and find the best way to line it up. Now I'm going to actually disagree with what it did, because it's rotated my stuff. God, it would be really nice if I could just stretch, I could really do with some straighter edges on these. Oops. Yeah, this is a tedious whole process. So this add-on I'm using is called Text Tools. It's free, and yeah, it's been a massive part. It's been part of my workflow for quite a few years. It's a really good, reliable tool, except for that, as I said, rectify never seems to work for me. But I think that's because it has to be a very, very particular kind of geometry for rectify to work as a function. Yeah, it's never going to work for me. You know, I'm going to try something else because I vaguely recall there being an add-on called Magic or UV Squares. Let's type in squares, what I used to use. Or UV. Nope. I desperately need to try Zen UV. Yeah. Can't find it. Anyway, I guess I'll just have to not be too precious about these. Look at that one. Anyway, I want this to consider the texel density. Let's see if I can remember how to do that. There we go. So I used normalize island so that we're getting a similar texel density throughout. Texel density meaning if I have like a repeating image, it's going to display at the same scale across all my UVs. So there we go. So that's an arm unwrapped. Now the problem is this arm uses a mirror modifier. So I'm going to come over here, turn on modified edges so I can see my UVs. And then I'm going to scale this down. G, and I'm just going to position it there. Just making sure it sits in there. Okay. And now that means that we will get, as you can see here, the UVs have mirrored, which means they have their own space within the texture UV panel, you know, F2, F5, F6, F7. So you can see it's unique. It's not just mirroring the image, which will result in an unnatural and symmetrical looking textures. So yeah, so there we go. Mirror modifier at work. Save. Next, we'll do the main body. Now, this is, the modeler has done they did a very good job, but yeah, we've got some remnants of their UVing. So I'm just going to box select what I want to keep. Use the C brush to do a bit there. And I'm going to box select the top, deselect that. P to pin, U, unwrap. Great. Okay, so we've got this. We've got this spilling past the midway point. So obviously I'm going to have to sort that out. Just using the sculpting tools. Okay. That looks like it'll do for me. Pin. Now we're getting this thing happening, which means the mirror modifier is being naughty. It's flipping on the U and the V. Don't want that. That's no good to anyone. So there we go. That's sorted. Now I could select both of these and ensure that they are. Oh, look at this. This is actually back to front. So I think. Why is it back to front? Do I need to go SX -1? Well, that sorts it out, but I'm not quite sure why. Let's turn the mirror off. Not that one. That one. I'm confused. Is it upside down? Oops. I did that transform on the wrong. I typed in scale X -1 and had the mouse over the wrong viewport. Christ. This cold is just kicking my ass. Okay. Scale X -1. Did that just do... No. Okay, that's fine. I thought it did it again. Oh, we're looking at some weird UV issues here. That's less than fun, less than ideal. Why has this gone slow? Okay, and we're back. So, hopefully the lag has been dealt with. So, I'm going to continue with my... Oh, no, that still seems laggy as heck. Unpin that. Maybe that could help. I wonder what is causing the performance issue. All I know is I can't continue working like that. That is outrageous. Anytime I try to sculpt. Okay. I mean, UVing is such a tedious job that, you know, to have to suffer with poor performance as well kind of makes it unbearable. So, we'll turn off all of that, we'll isolate it. What else could be affecting this? Something is going very wrong. System console. What is all this? You know what? I think I'm going to have to turn off some add-ons. So I'm going to turn off text tools. I'm going to turn off... I don't even know what Magic UV is really. I'll turn off Packmaster as well, although I doubt that's the one causing the issues. No, still screwed. I don't see any way I can actually do this because it's so slow. Are you enjoying watching someone panic on YouTube? That's always fun. See, I could fix this with magic of editing, but, you know, I feel like that's cheating people. You've got to see the reality of what it is to work in CG. There are many, many of these sort of hurdles. There's got to be a way to... Let's just unpin everything. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. Okay. Super powerful computer brought to his knees by a simple UVing job. Come on! Oh, this is impossible. Right. Disgusting. There we go, I managed to unwrap it at least. I'll turn the mirroring back on. Wait, I've got an idea. You know, I thought it might be accidentally playing back in the background or doing something stupid like that. But no. Anyway, I'm thinking that these are quite stretched here, so I'm going to... Firstly, let's get them to the center. Now, let's scale on the x-axis until they're a reasonable dimension. And then I'm going to scale it down again so that it all fits. I wonder if fall off controls. No. So what I've done there is I've scaled that part down to try and bring these up to a similar sort of size, and then I'm going to scale all of the preceding or the interstitial edge loops so there's some sort of transition. It's not critical, to be fair. So, why am I doing it? Who knows? Let's pin that lot. Let's unpin that. And let's unwrap again. Ooh, spirally. There we go. And I think that's a reasonable enough result. The issue is going to be getting that seam down the middle to work. But it's a non-critical thing because, you know, you're going to paint the texture to work for you. So it's just getting a decent, clean sort of layout of the UVs so that you can paint a texture that works. It's not meant to work with this texture. It's not meant to be, you know. So yeah, I think I'm probably a little over the top with my UVing and how I, you know, how, what's the term? Who knows? Who knows what I'm going for? But yeah, I'm probably a little over the top in trying to get the UVs to be clean and sit in a certain way. I don't know. I don't know anyone else. I don't know anyone who does skinning for a living, you know. So just going to project from view. Hide it, get the one underneath. And let's take these and put these over here. Just unwrap this. That seems to have worked fairly well for itself, I think. Actually, I can't tell what is what. Oh, I see. These are separate pieces of geometry. I wonder why it's been done that way. Who knows? What I do know is I can just add in a simple seam here. And get terrible, terrible results. All right. Yeah, I never quite get what I want from that length average thing. There we go, much better. So it was missing a seam or two there. There we go. So what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to bother about tidying any of that up because I mean, I suppose I could select one. Renable. Oh, God. Re-enable text tools, things that didn't actually seem to do. Oh, right, it doesn't want to re-enable text tools now. But I was actually going to try the rectify thing on that, because that's the sort of geometry which rectify would do quite well with, I think. But it doesn't matter. What I want to show you is this. Now I've got everything sort of set up. I can select all my... Actually, I haven't done those eyes yet. Not that they matter, but, you know, for completionist's sake here, we'll have some eyes. Okay. Okay. Now I want to select all my objects, go into edit mode, and start moving stuff around so that it can all exist in the same texture. Now this isn't saying you have to do. It depends on your workflow, but dear God, I like to do this because I think it's simpler for how I like to work with textures. So let's grab all those. See, what would be nice here actually is to, I'm just going to save it. I wonder if Packmaster will re-enable, because it would allow me to normalize the island and pack. I'm going to lose this mirroring, but I can live with that. Okay. So. Now the pack won't work because... Okay. I need to grab this. Not worried about where they wind up. So it's only really the mirroring on this that I need to preserve. But what it has done is given me the correct sizing, which I'm now breaking to fix all this. But it's given me the correct sort of size to work to. Like everything is relative, scaled relative to one another. And that's actually quite a big job, so, or can be. So hopefully the textual density should be consistent throughout. Ideally I'd keep all the fingers together, but it doesn't seem to be happening for me. Or maybe they will. Maybe I can get that. Bring him down here. Great. I'll accept the mirroring. Didn't think of that, did I? Oops. No, I need to fit this in somewhere where it's not going to get overlapped. So I guess what I could do is just grab all of these and move them over. There we go. So now I've got a UV layout. I've got all the objects laid out on the same UVs. That way we can use the same texture. Obviously, if we wanted to separate that out into, for whatever reason, you make more use of some of the UV texture space, then we could. But I'm content with what we've done there. We have UV'd a beastie. So there we go. So I think I'm gonna call that there and just go, that's how I go about working with UVs. It's a bit brute force, it lacks elegance, it lacks, I'm sure, many tips and tricks that you could find in other videos that would speed it up. But it works for everything because it's brute force, and it's just very much sort of going, right, I'm gonna sort this out and lay it all out and fix it. So, it works for me. But then I am probably a little more fastidious about how I want my UVs than other people. So there is that. So I guess it pays to know who you're working with or for in that regard, and just being a little tenacious with your UVs, trying to get everything real tight. Also working with UVs at a level with the object before it's subdivided heavily is a massive help, because the more polygons you've got to juggle, the more UVs you've got to juggle. That said, hopefully this has been useful to you. I'm going to end it here as I have another video to do and not a lot of voice left to do it with. Best of luck.